For 9 years, Apple let everyone else build a foldable phone. Samsung, Huawei, Google. Apple watched every one of them crack, crease, and apologize. Now it's finally Apple's turn, and it's called the iPhone Ultra, or Fold. But here's what nobody's saying out loud. To build the most advanced iPhone ever made, Apple had to remove almost everything that made an iPhone feel like an iPhone. No Face ID on the front, no third camera on the back, and no MagSafe magnets. So this is probably the most ambitious phone Apple has ever built in its entire history. It also might be the most compromised. And here's the kicker. If you want one, you probably won't be able to buy it this year. Let's get into it. Samsung's Foldable is a tall, narrow phone that opens into a slightly bigger phone. Apple went the other way. When closed, the Ultra is short and wide, much like a passport. But open, it's almost exactly the proportions of an iPad mini. A 4:3 ratio. And I want to be specific because I've had these in hand for a few weeks now. Quick thing, every dummy you've probably seen leaked online is in white. The latest reports say the Ultra may launch in white only, but I managed to get both. So here's the black one, which almost nobody has shown you yet. I gotta say, renders did this thing dirty. In your hand, it looks like the first foldable Apple actually designed, instead of one they built to answer somebody else. When closed, it disappears. It almost feels like a stack of a couple of thick credit cards, or a really slim wallet, but not quite necessarily a phone pretending to be a tablet. That sounds small. It's the entire point. Every other foldable still feels like a compromise in your pocket, but surprisingly this one doesn't. The trade-off you feel immediately is the camera. The plateau, we'll call it, sticks out far enough on the surface that this thing rocks, either folded or open. This is not a phone you lay flat for a call. You're holding it the whole time. Let's talk a little bit more about the info that's locked in right now, as almost all of it traces back to Mark Gurman at Bloomberg and Ming-Chi Kuo, a veteran Apple analyst. Probably the two most accurate voices on this upcoming device. Two displays, a 5.5-inch cover screen, a 7.8-inch inner screen, with a crease Apple chased down to nearly invisible, reportedly regardless of cost. Apple's A20 chip on a 2nm process, the C2 modem, vapor chamber cooling, new for a phone this thin, but borrowed from last year's 17 Pro. 2 rear cameras, not 3. Touch ID is in the side button. No physical SIM, eSIM only as we've come to expect, everywhere in the world. And just under 5mm when open, which actually makes it thinner than the iPhone Air. On paper, that's a flagship. But read that list again, because half of it is things that Apple took away that users have come to love for almost a decade now. This is the part that I actually want to talk about, because in order to get this phone under 5mm thin when open, Apple made choices, and every one of them is a subtraction. Face ID is gone. The headline feature since the iPhone X, the thing Apple spent 8 years calling the future, is not on the most expensive phone they've ever sold. It's back to Touch ID in the power button, much like a lot of the iPad lineup besides the Pro. The reason is space. Face ID needs a sensor array, and if you think about it, not only inside but outside. And that array costs millimeters that Apple just didn't have. The third camera is gone. 2 lenses, not 3. Wide and ultra wide, but no real telephoto, because again, there's just no room for it. On a Pro Max, you get the full system. On a $2,500 phone, you don't. So is this the Pro experience? Or is it something else just wearing a higher price tag? Next, obviously these dummy units have no MagSafe magnets inside. Trust me, I tried. But interestingly enough, every leaked case schematic we've seen does. That tells you Apple pulled those magnets out of the phone to hit that thinness and offloaded the rest to that MagSafe case. So the wireless charging system that you've bought into for years now will depend on whether or not you have that MagSafe case on the thinnest, most beautiful device Apple's ever made. And remember, none of these are on accident. It's the bill for how ridiculously thin Apple is making this phone, again, when unfolded. The only question now is whether or not you think it was worth paying. For years, the foldable was a rumor, but then at WWDC, Apple pretty much all but confirmed it without holding it up. All you gotta do is dig into the iOS 27 beta code and it's all there. Hardware flags called fold state, a variable that literally measures the hinge angle in degrees. Internal references to a device running Dynamic Island and Touch ID simultaneously, which is something no current iPhone does. That combination only exists in one unreleased product. And it wasn't just buried code. Apple added full screen screen widgets that would fill exactly half of a folding display. They made it easier for developers to resize apps for new screen shapes. And the biggest smoking gun of all, they even demoed resizing the iPhone screen on a Mac. People watched WWDC and called it a boring software year. It definitely wasn't boring. It was Apple literally laying the foundation for this iPhone Fold Ultra basically in plain sight. The software that half of this device, the part Samsung and others took 5 years to get right, has been getting built this whole time. So yeah, it's real and it's coming this fall. Now here's the part almost nobody is ready for. According to Ming-Chi Kuo, Apple's only making 7 or 8 million of these for the rest of the year. That's into the holiday season. For comparison, all iPhone 18 Pro models will be north of 20 million. And in the first wave of production off of pre-orders, we're talking from anywhere to 500,000 all the way up to 1 million units total. That's it for the entire world. So even though Apple may announce these in September, Kuo predicts that pre-orders won't begin till weeks, if not over a month later, and it probably will sell out instantly. Wait times past that pre-order date, which again could be up to a month out from announcement, if not longer, could be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks plus. There's even this ridiculous prediction that scalpers will try to flip these for anywhere from 50 to 100% over retail price. Again, and I have to emphasize this, on a phone that already costs $2,500. Now there is a counter signal. Other supply chain reports say Apple's aggressively pushed its production target up toward 10 million, which tells you Apple itself may be more confident than the pessimists. But even the optimistic number is tiny by regular iPhone standards. And guess where it all stems from? The hinge. It's now confirmed to be liquid metal, and Apple has shipped prototype units to carriers, but during durability testing, apparently, after millions of folds, the hinge reportedly started to make a faint noise, and tight tolerances pushed the defect rate up. Thankfully, most of that is said to be fixed, with mass production starting this month. But yeah, that's a super tight runway. Bottom line, it's 2017 all over again. This is literally the iPhone X playbook. Announced in September, actually in hands later in the year, with mass shipments rolling past holiday, in tiny numbers. Of course, if everything goes to plan and nothing slips. You will be lucky to get these by the holiday season if you get your pre-order in early enough. So where does this leave us? This is the first major product of the John Ternus era. We talked about this a few weeks back. He's been running hardware engineering, so he likely signed off on every single one of these trade-offs. The thinness, the missing Face ID, the 2 cameras, no MagSafe, the hinge that better hold up. When he holds this up in September, this is his first move as the man running Apple. And I think that's what makes the Ultra so interesting to me. It's probably the most advanced piece of hardware that Apple has ever built. But remember, to get there, they had to walk back a decade of things that made the iPhone experience feel premium. And they're making so few of these that the people that do actually want them might not even get them this year. If it works, Ternus becomes the product guide that proves Apple still takes real swings. But if the compromises feel like compromises, it's a rocky start to his era. I was fortunate enough to be a part of many iPhone launches. The one thing I learned is the customer never really cared about the spec sheet. They care about one thing. Does it feel like Apple got it right? And so that's the only question that really matters for the Ultra. Not whether it folds, not whether you can even get one. Rather, the first time you open it, it feels worth everything Apple gave up to build it. We find out in September. I think I have no choice but to cover these when they drop. So if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. And let me know in the comments, would you pay $2,500 for this thing? The thinnest iPhone ever, even knowing what Apple left out, and also knowing you may just have to battle with some scalpers to get one. In any case, I'm pretty excited. I'll see you then.